There is a specific kind of tiredness that sleep does not fix. It's a weariness in the soul, a quiet ache behind the ribs. It's the exhaustion that comes not from a long day of work, but from a long lifetime of being responsible for everyone else's emotions. You've been called kind, understanding, the good one, the peacemaker. You wore these titles like a badge of honor. But lately, when you look in the mirror, you don't see a kind person. You see someone who is disappearing. The kindness that was once your most natural gift now feels like a leak, a slow, steady drain of your life force. You give, and you are praised for it. But when you are alone, in the quiet of the night, you feel a hollow space inside you. You feel the ghost of 100 conversations where you swallowed your own needs to make someone else comfortable. You feel the weight of every time you said, "It's okay," when it wasn't okay at all. This is the moment the self-betrayal begins. Not with a bang, but with a quiet, reasonable compromise. And another, until one day you look at your life and realize you have built a beautiful, comfortable cage for yourself, furnished with the approval of others, but empty of you. The door has always been open, but you were taught that leaving would be selfish. You were taught that your worth was measured by how much you could carry for others, not by how well you honored yourself. And the most painful part? You believed it. This isn't a story about becoming less kind. It is the story of how you learn to trust yourself again. It is the story of how your kindness stops being a liability and becomes a conscious, powerful choice. The paradox of the path you have been on is this: the more you gave, the less you were valued. The more you bent, the more you were expected to break. Your boundless empathy was not seen as a sacred gift, but as an infinite resource to be tapped. People didn't fall in love with you. They fell in love with what you could do for them. They loved the way you absorbed their chaos. They loved the way you made them feel seen without ever asking to be seen yourself. You became a human mirror, perfectly reflecting back their best self, while your own image grew fainter and fainter. You thought that by being endlessly understanding, you would earn love and prevent abandonment. Instead, you taught people that your needs didn't matter. You taught them that your boundaries were suggestions, not requirements. You taught them that you would always be there to clean up the emotional mess, no matter the cost to your own peace. This dynamic is not an accident. It is a psychological pattern, one that the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung would have recognized instantly. He would not have seen you as simply a nice person. He would have seen the powerful archetypal forces at play. He would have seen the construction of a very specific social mask. The persona. The persona is the version of ourselves we present to the world. It's the face we wear to be accepted, to fit in, to be loved. For you, the persona was likely that of the good person, the helper, the selfless one. From a young age, you may have learned that this role earned you safety and approval. When you were helpful, you were praised. When you were quiet about your own needs, there was peace. When you absorbed the tension in a room, you were called mature. So you perfected this mask. You became an expert at anticipating needs, at soothing egos, at making everything okay. The problem is not the mask itself. We all need a persona to function in society. The problem arises when we forget we are wearing it, when the mask fuses to our skin and we believe it is our true face. This is where the self-betrayal becomes a way of life. Because for everything the persona includes, there is something else that must be excluded. And this is where we must speak of the shadow. In Jungian psychology, the shadow is not evil. It is simply everything we have repressed about ourselves in order to be acceptable. It is all the parts of us that did not fit the good person mask. For the chronic overgiver, the shadow contains a universe of unmet needs. It contains your healthy anger. It contains your right to say no. It contains your desire for rest, your need for reciprocity, and your fierce, non-negotiable right to your own life. Every time you said yes when your body was screaming no, you fed the persona and starved the shadow. Every time you smiled through your exhaustion, you polished the mask and pushed your authentic self deeper into the dark. The tiredness you feel is the weight of this repressed shadow. The resentment that flickers in your quiet moments is the shadow begging to be heard. The feeling of being invisible is the logical outcome of making your true self invisible, even to you. The dynamic becomes toxic when this persona attracts its opposite. A person with a poorly integrated sense of self, someone who operates from a place of entitlement and emotional deficit, will see your good person persona as a perfect source. It's like a lock finding its key. They don't see you, they see a solution to their own emptiness. They see a well that never runs dry. And your persona, desperate for validation and terrified of being seen as selfish, obliges. It keeps giving, hoping that this time, the giving will finally be enough to earn the love and security it craves. But it is never enough. It cannot be. Because the transaction is not based on love, but on function. You are functioning as a source of emotional regulation for another person. And when the source begins to run dry, when you start to pull back, the dynamic reveals its true nature. This is the point where guilt becomes the primary tool of control. The moment you try to set a small boundary, saying you're too tired to talk, not answering a text immediately, prioritizing your own plans, a tidal wave of guilt crashes over you. You feel selfish, you feel mean, you feel like you are a bad person. This is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. This guilt is the alarm system of the persona. It's a deeply ingrained psychological program, what Jung might call a complex, designed to keep you in your role. This guilt complex has a simple, brutal message. Your worth is conditional. It depends on your utility to others. If you stop being useful, you will be abandoned. You will be unlovable. This complex was likely formed in childhood. It's the echo of a parent you had to please, of a chaotic environment you had to manage. It's the voice of survival from a time when your safety literally depended on being good, quiet, and helpful. Now, as an adult, the danger is gone, but the program is still running. The guilt is not a reflection of your current reality. It is a ghost from your past. And the person who benefits from your lack of boundaries knows, consciously or unconsciously, how to activate this guilt. They might not say, "You're a bad person." They might say something far more subtle. "I thought you were different," or "I guess I can't count on you anymore." Or they might simply withdraw, punishing you with a silence that your abandonment wound interprets as a life-threatening emergency. Your nervous system goes into overdrive. The old fear of being cast out, of being unworthy, floods your body. And to make the terrible feeling stop, you do the one thing you know how to do. You abandon yourself. You apologize. You over-explain. You rush back in to fix the situation, to restore their comfort, to prove you are still the good person. And for a moment, there is relief. The tension recedes. But each time you do this, the foundation of your self-trust crumbles a little more. You are teaching yourself, over and over, that your feelings are less important than their feelings, that your peace is a currency to be spent on their comfort. This is the very definition of self-betrayal. It's a slow erosion of the soul. The first step in reclaiming your trust in yourself is not to fight the guilt. It is to see it for what it is. It is not your conscience. It is not the voice of truth. It is a psychological artifact. It is an old echo. When the guilt comes, and it will, the practice is to simply observe it, to say to yourself, "Ah, there is the guilt. The old program is running. It feels terrible, but it is not the truth of who I am." You don't have to act on it. You can let it be a storm in your body that you do not have to obey. This is an act of profound rebellion. You are refusing to let the ghost drive. Imagine the guilt is a cloud passing through the sky of your awareness. It is dark and heavy, but you are the sky, not the cloud. By not reacting, by not immediately rushing to appease the other person, you are doing something new. You are creating a space. In that space, a different voice can begin to emerge, a quieter voice. The voice of your own long-neglected needs, the voice of your shadow, which is not asking to destroy your life, but simply to be allowed to live within it. There comes a day when the persona cracks. It's not a decision you make with your conscious mind. It's a decision your body and soul make for you. The exhaustion finally outweighs the fear of being disliked. The emptiness becomes more painful than the potential conflict. This is the moment the empath appears to turn cold. It is one of the most misunderstood transformations. From the outside, it can look like you've become selfish, uncaring, or bitter. The very people who were accustomed to your boundless giving will now accuse you of being the opposite. They will say, "You've changed," and they will mean it as an indictment. But from the inside, it does not feel like coldness. It feels like survival. It is the feeling of a fever breaking. It's the body's final, desperate attempt at self-preservation. This coldness is actually a boundary. It is a boundary made of pure exhaustion. You simply do not have the energy to perform anymore. You cannot force another smile. You cannot offer another word of comfort you do not feel. You cannot absorb one more drop of someone else's drama. You become quiet. You stop explaining yourself. You stop rushing to fill every silence. Your no becomes a complete sentence without the usual trailing apology. This is not an act of aggression. It is an act of profound self-respect. You are finally treating your own energy as a finite, precious resource. This stage is terrifying because it means letting go of the one identity that has always kept you safe. The good person persona is dying, and you don't yet know what will take its place. This is a journey through the void. During this time, you may feel incredibly lonely. The people who were only there for what you could give them will drift away. The silence they leave behind is a gift, but at first, it can feel like a punishment. It confirms your deepest fear, that if you weren't useful, you would be abandoned. But this is where the real work begins, the work of learning to be with yourself, the work of discovering who you are without the mask. What do you actually like? What do you actually need? What brings you joy when you are not trying to please anyone? This is a process of individuation. It is the journey from being a fragmented role player to becoming a whole person. It means consciously integrating the shadow. It means acknowledging your anger, not as something to be feared, but as a signal that a boundary has been crossed. It means honoring your need for rest, not as a weakness, but as a necessity. It means learning to give from a place of fullness, not from a place of deficit. Think of your energy, your kindness, as a cup of water. For years, you have been pouring this water out for everyone who seemed thirsty. You poured until your cup was bone dry, and then you tried to wring moisture from the dust at the bottom. You were praised for it, but you were dying of thirst. The journey back to self-trust is the process of allowing your own cup to be filled. At first, this means not giving it to anyone. It means protecting it. It means letting the rain of solitude, of self-reflection, of doing things just for you, slowly fill it up. And the guilt will scream at you that you are being selfish, that someone else needs that water more than you do. And you must learn to sit with that guilt and say, I am worthy of this water too. As your cup begins to fill, you will notice a shift. Your nervous system will calm down. The constant, low-grade anxiety will begin to recede. You will start to hear your own intuition again, that quiet inner knowing you betrayed so many times. It was never gone. It was just drowned out by the noise of everyone else's needs. When your intuition speaks now, you listen. When it says, this person doesn't feel safe, you don't argue with it. You don't try to find reasons to override it. You simply honor it. You create distance. You protect your peace. This is the foundation of self-trust. It is the unwavering belief that your internal guidance system is valid and worthy of respect. If this journey names something you have felt but never been able to put into words, take a moment. Acknowledge the part of you that has been so tired for so long, the part that gave everything and asked for nothing. It did the best it could with the tools it had. Now, you are learning to use new tools. A boundary is not a wall you build to keep the world out. It is a sacred circle you draw around yourself to keep your own life force in. It is a declaration that this space, the space of your body, your mind, and your spirit, is sovereign territory. A healthy boundary is not aggressive. It does not need to shout. It is a calm, centered energy. It is the quiet power of a mountain that does not need to prove it is solid. It simply is. When someone pushes against it, they feel its unyielding presence, not its anger. Learning to set these boundaries is a practice. It begins with small things. It might be saying, I can't talk right now, I'll call you tomorrow. No long explanation, no apology. It might be letting a text message go unanswered for an hour because you are reading a book. It might be saying no to a request that you know will drain you, without offering 5 alternative solutions. Each time you do this, you cast a vote for your own well-being. You are reprogramming your nervous system. You are teaching the guilt complex that its alarm is false. You are showing yourself, through action, that you will not abandon you. As you practice this, something remarkable happens. Your kindness doesn't disappear, it transforms. It is no longer a compulsive, anxious, people-pleasing. It becomes a conscious choice. Because your cup is now full, you can choose to share what overflows. You can give freely, joyfully, without resentment, because you are no longer giving from a place of lack. You also become much more discerning about who you share your energy with. You can feel the difference between someone who is genuinely in need and someone who is simply a drain. Your restored intuition acts as a filter. You find yourself naturally gravitating towards people who have their own full cups, people who are interested in connection, not consumption. The relationships that are based on reciprocity begin to flourish, while the ones based on depletion naturally fall away. This is the return of self-trust. It is not a single event, but a slow, steady dawn. It is the growing certainty that you are your own safe harbor. It is the knowledge that you can handle someone else's disappointment. Their anger might be uncomfortable, but it is not more powerful than your commitment to your own soul. You stop seeing their reactions as a verdict on your worth. You see them simply as their reactions, their own patterns, their own wounds, their own journey. You can have compassion for that, but you are no longer responsible for managing it. Your job is to manage your own inner world. The process of integrating the shadow means you are no longer afraid of the unnice parts of yourself. You understand that your anger is a guardian. Your capacity to say no is a protector. Your need for solitude is a source of wisdom. You are no longer a one-dimensional character in your own life. You are complex, multifaceted, and whole. This wholeness is what Carl Jung called the self, with a capital S. It is the integrated personality, where the persona and the shadow, the conscious and the unconscious, are no longer at war. It is the true center of your being. Living from this center, you are both kind and boundaried. You are both compassionate and fierce. You are both connected to others and loyal to yourself. The journey out of the self-betrayal of boundless kindness is not about punishing those who took advantage. Revenge is a low vibrational trap that keeps you tethered to the past. The true liberation is becoming indifferent to their games, because you are no longer a player. You have picked up your pieces and walked away from the board. Your focus is no longer on them, on what they are thinking, what they are feeling, whether they approve. Your focus is on you, on the quiet, steady flame of selfhood that you are tending within. You are learning to mother yourself, to protect yourself, to champion yourself. The trust you lost was never really in others. It was in yourself. You lost trust in your ability to protect yourself. You lost trust in your perception of reality when it was constantly being denied. You lost trust in your own worth when it seemed to be determined by your usefulness. Rebuilding that trust means honoring your perception, even if no one else validates it. It means acting on your own behalf, even if it makes someone else uncomfortable. It means choosing the temporary discomfort of setting a boundary over the long, slow death of self-abandonment. Look back at the person you were, the one who gave until they were an empty shell. Do not judge her. Do not shame her. See her with the same boundless compassion you so freely gave to others. She was a survivor. She learned a strategy to stay safe in a world that felt unsafe. She did the best she could. Thank her for getting you this far, and then, gently, let her know that her service is no longer required. You are the adult in the room now. You will take it from here. You will be the one who protects, who provides, and who presides over this precious life. Your kindness is a superpower. It always was. But without the wisdom of the shadow and the strength of your boundaries, it was a power that could be turned against you. Now, integrated and whole, it is a force for conscious, deliberate good in the world, starting with yourself. You no longer betray yourself to be kind. Your kindness and your self-trust now flow from the same source, the deep, calm well of your authentic self. My kindness no longer requires my self-betrayal, and this realization does not land like a victory flag planted on a conquered hill. It lands like a feather. It is a quiet, internal settling. It's the feeling of a bone, long dislocated, finally clicking back into its socket. There is not a roar of triumph, but a deep, resonant hum of peace. The war is over. Not the war with others, but the long, exhausting civil war within yourself. This is because the change is not just a new thought pattern. It is a fundamental shift that registers deep in the body, in the very tissues that have held the memory of every self-abandonment. For years, your body has been a living archive of this betrayal. Think of the tightness in your throat when you wanted to speak your truth, but swallowed it instead. Think of the knot in your solar plexus when you received a request you knew you couldn't handle, the preemptive clenching before you even said yes. Think of the shallow breathing, the constant state of low-grade alert in your nervous system, always scanning the horizon for the next emotional demand. Your body learned that its own signals, of tiredness, of discomfort, of needing space, were alarms to be ignored, overridden in favor of someone else's comfort. It learned that its purpose was to be a container for external chaos, not a sanctuary for your own soul. The journey back to self-trust is a somatic one. It is the process of teaching your body, cell by cell, that it is now safe. It is safe to breathe deeply. It is safe to relax your shoulders. It is safe to occupy your full space. When you set a boundary and honor it, you are sending a powerful message, not just to the other person, but to your own nervous system. I am here. I will not abandon you. I will keep you safe. The first few times you do this, your body might still react with the old panic. The adrenaline might still surge. The heart might still pound. This is the body memory of past betrayals, the echo of every time you caved and paid the price with your own well-being. The practice is to stay present with these sensations without being hijacked by them. To breathe into the tightness and whisper to your own frightened physiology, "We are not in the past. The danger is not real. I've got us." With each successful act of self-honoring, this physical echo grows fainter. The knot in the stomach is replaced by a sense of groundedness, a feeling of being anchored in your own core. The tightness in the chest dissolves into a new kind of spaciousness, as if you can finally take a full, life-giving breath. Your body slowly unlearns the posture of apology and remembers the posture of sovereignty. It ceases to be a battleground and becomes what it was always meant to be, your home. This homecoming also means you are finally ready to explore the rooms you had locked and boarded up for years. This is the deeper work of integrating the shadow. You had to suppress so much more than just anger and the word no to fit into the good person persona. You likely suppressed your wild creativity because it was too messy or unpredictable. You suppressed your ambition because it felt too selfish. You suppressed your righteous anger at injustice because it wasn't nice. You suppressed your playfulness, your sensuality, your unfiltered laughter, anything that took up too much space or didn't serve a direct, useful purpose for others. Your shadow, therefore, holds not your evil, but your vitality. It holds the raw, untamed life force that you were taught to fear. Integrating it is not about becoming a dark or selfish person. It is about reclaiming your own energy. It is giving yourself permission to paint, to dance, to build, to lead, to desire, to be gloriously, imperfectly, and fully alive. When you welcome these parts of yourself back, the chronic exhaustion begins to lift, replaced by a current of genuine passion. You are no longer running on the fumes of external validation, but on the high-octane fuel of your own authentic essence. And how do you know, really know, that this change is taking root? It's not in the grand gestures, it's in the quiet, inner shifts. You'll notice the emergence of the sacred pause. Someone makes a request, and instead of the automatic, people-pleasing yes, a space opens up inside you. In that space, you don't debate or agonize. You simply check in. You ask your body, your energy, your intuition, is this a yes for me? Sometimes the answer is a joyful, wholehearted yes. Other times it's a calm, clear no. The response comes not from a place of fear or obligation, but from a place of inner alignment. Another sign is the gradual disappearance of resentment. That bitter, simmering feeling that used to be the constant background music of your life starts to fade. You realize you haven't felt it in weeks. This is because resentment is the poison you drink when you don't speak your truth. It's the direct byproduct of self-betrayal. When you stop betraying yourself, the resentment has no ground in which to grow. And then, inevitably, comes the test. It will not be a stranger. It will be someone from your past, a key figure from the old dynamic, showing up as if summoned by your transformation. They may have sensed the shift in your energy and are here, unconsciously, to pull you back into the familiar dance. Imagine the scene. A message comes through from that person, the one whose moods you used to manage, whose crises you used to solve. It's a classic scenario. They are in a bind, they are overwhelmed, and they are framing their request in the old language that is perfectly calibrated to trigger your old guilt. You're the only one I can turn to, they might say. I know you'll understand. For a moment, the ghost of the old you rises. Your stomach clenches. Your heart rate quickens. The old program, the guilt complex, whispers its familiar, terrifying threat. If you say no, you are selfish. You are a bad person. They will be hurt, and it will be your fault. You will be abandoned. But this time, something is different. You feel the fear, but you are not the fear. You are the one observing it. You are the sky, and the fear is just a cloud. You take a breath. You feel your feet on the floor. You access the sacred pause. You look at the message, and you see it not as a summons, but as a simple piece of information. This person has a problem. That is their reality. It does not have to become your emergency. Your reply is something you could never have composed before. It is simple, clear, and devoid of frantic apologies or over-explanations. It might be something like, "It sounds like you're in a tough spot, and I'm sorry to hear that. Unfortunately, I'm not able to help with this." Or perhaps, "I have faith that you'll figure it out. I'm sending you my best, but I can't get involved." You type it. Your thumb hovers over the send button. The old fear screams. You press send. And then, silence. The world does not end. A lightning bolt does not strike you down. There is their response, perhaps, laced with disappointment, confusion, or even anger. "I thought you were different. I guess I can't count on you." And you read those words, and you feel a flicker of sadness for their pain, perhaps, but beneath it, a profound, unshakable calm. Their reaction is not a verdict on your worth. It is a reflection of their own expectations. It is their story, not yours. You have not attacked them. You have simply protected yourself. You have held your ground not with a sword, but with the quiet, immense strength of a mountain. And in the aftermath, there is not the familiar, sickening feeling of guilt, but a clean, quiet peace. It is the feeling of integrity. It is the feeling of coming home. This is the point of no return. Having tasted the peace of self-alignment, the chaos of self-abandonment becomes intolerable. Your life begins to recalibrate around this new center. The relationships that cannot survive your wholeness will gently, or sometimes dramatically, fall away. Let them go. They were props for the mask, not companions for your soul. In their place, new connections will emerge. You will find yourself drawn to people who are also tending to their own inner worlds. People who understand that connection is about sharing fullness, not filling emptiness. These relationships feel different. They are spacious, respectful, and energizing. You can be your full, complex self, kind and fierce, joyful and sad, open and boundaried. And you are met with acceptance, not expectation. This journey is not a one-time fix. It is a daily practice of choosing yourself. There will be moments you slip back into old habits, moments the guilt complex speaks with a louder voice. But you no longer believe it. You know the way back. The compass of your soul is now permanently calibrated to your own true north, and you know how to read it. Your kindness, once a source of your deepest pain, is now your most authentic power. It is no longer a nervous compulsion, but a conscious, deliberate gift offered from a full and sovereign heart. You can now be a true force for good in the world, because you are no longer at war with yourself. You can offer a listening ear without losing your own voice. You can extend a helping hand without giving away your own arm. You can love others deeply and truly, because you have finally learned to love and trust the person who was there all along. You.